Welcome to The Explainer. We're all about breaking down big ideas here. And today we are tackling a huge one, money. But we're going on a journey, a logical one, to see how a simple, everyday object can morph into one of the most powerful forces in our world, capital. So let's just ask the big question right up front. What is money, really, at its core? Well, according to the theory we're exploring today, if you want to understand it, you can't just start by looking at dollar bills or coins in your pocket. Nope, that's just the end of the story. We need to go way back to the beginning. Instead, we have to start with something super simple, just a basic object. From there, we're going to trace its evolution step by logical step and watch how it transforms into this incredibly powerful force that shapes our lives, capital. Okay, so our journey starts right here with a really fundamental idea. The idea that any product made to be exchanged, well, it has a kind of split personality. And getting your head around this is the key. It unlocks everything else that comes after. So according to this theory, a commodity isn't just a thing. It's a thing with a very specific job to do, a social purpose. It was made from the get-go, not to be used by the person who made it, but to be traded away. And right there, in that simple fact, you've got this built-in tension, a conflict. And this slide really breaks down that internal conflict. See, every commodity is pulling in two different directions at once. On one hand, it has a use value. That's its practical purpose, right? What it actually does. A coat keeps you warm. Simple. But on the other hand, it has an exchange value. That's what you can get for it in a trade. The real kicker? For the owner, it's one or the other. You can't wear the coat to stay warm and trade it away at the exact same moment. And this quote really hits the nail on the head. This is the absolute core of it. The entire system of trade, of markets, is built on this one simple idea. I make something I don't need, specifically so I can trade it for something I do need. It's this separation that gets the whole economic engine started. Okay, but hold on. If a coat is totally different from a bag of tea, and tea is different from a bolt of linen, how on earth do you compare them? How do you trade them fairly? You can't, not easily. So the market needed to develop a common language, a way to talk about value. And this theory argues that this language evolved in 3 logical steps. And you can really see the logic unfold here. First, you have the simple form. It's basically barter. My 20 yards of linen is worth your 1 coat. Easy. But that's limited, right? So then you get the expanded form. Suddenly, my linen is worth a coat, or 10 pounds of tea, or 2 ounces of gold. Now we're talking. But even that's clumsy. So finally, the whole system just snaps into focus with a general form. The whole world of stuff agrees to measure its value against one single thing. It becomes the universal yardstick. And that one commodity, the one that society eventually just kind of agrees will play this universal role permanently, well, that's it. That's the birth of money. You see, money isn't some magical invention that just popped into existence. According to this theory, it emerges logically. It's the natural solution to the big headaches of barter, creating that common language that you absolutely need for a complex economy to even function. And it does 2 really essential jobs. First, it's a measure of value. It's that universal ruler we can use to put a price tag on literally anything. And second, it's a medium of exchange. This is huge. It solves that old barter problem where, you had to find a baker who just happened to want the exact pair of shoes you made. No more of that. You just sell your shoes for cash and then use that cash to buy whatever you want. This leads us to what the theory calls simple circulation, or MDM. Think of it like this. You start with a merchandise you have, like linen. You sell it for dollars, or money. Then you use those dollars to buy a different piece of merchandise you actually want, like a Bible. The goal is super simple. You're just swapping one use value for another. Money is just the helpful go-between. But here's where things take a massive turn. Because once you have money, this universal, abstract form of value, a whole new logic can enter the picture. A completely different goal for doing business suddenly becomes possible. And just like that, the whole circuit flips on its head. We go from MDM to DMD prime. You start with dollars, money. You use that money to buy or produce some merchandise. But, and this is the whole point, you then sell that merchandise for D prime, a larger amount of money than you started with. See the switch? The goal is no longer getting a useful thing. The goal is pure accumulation. It's ending up with more money. And when you put them side by side, the difference is just
It's night and day. Simple circulation, MDM, is all about getting something to use. The process ends when you read your Bible or wear your coat. But the capital circuit, DMD prime, that's about getting more value. It doesn't have a natural endpoint. It's designed to be a perpetual motion machine, constantly churning to make more and more money.
So this is a really crucial point in the theory. Capital isn't just a pile of cash or a factory or a bunch of machines. It's not a static thing. It's a process. It's value in motion, as the definition says. It's money that's on a mission to become more money. And that little bit of extra value it creates, that D prime minus D, that gets a special name, surplus value. Okay, but this leads us to the absolute central mystery of the whole theory. I mean, it's a huge puzzle. Where does this more money, this surplus value, actually come from? Yeah, think about it for a second. If the basic rule of the market is that you exchange things of equal value, a fair trade, how can you systematically end up with more money? It can't just be about ripping people off. I mean, sure, that happens, but you can't build an entire growing economic system on everyone just cheating everyone else. So where does the new value get created? Well, the solution to the puzzle, according to this argument, is kind of a brilliant twist. It says the answer has to be found inside the market process, but also kind of outside of it. It all comes down to finding one very, very special commodity. And here it is. That unique commodity is labor power. What's that? It's a person's capacity to work. The theory argues this is the key. The capitalist buys a worker's ability to work for a day, and they pay a fair market wage for it. But, and here's the magic trick, the use value of that labor power is its unique ability to create new value. In a day's work, the worker can produce more value than the cost of their own wage. And boom, that's how the DMD prime circuit finally works. The surplus value, that extra profit, is generated during the production process, in the factory or the office, when that unique commodity, labor power, is put to work. But that value only turns back into cold, hard cash when the final product is sold out there on the market. So let's just recap the journey we've been on. We followed this incredible logical chain, step by step. We started with a simple object that became a commodity, with that weird dual nature. The need to trade these commodities created money. The circulation of money then gave birth to a whole new circuit, capital, which is just value looking to expand itself. And finally, the source of that expansion was found in one unique commodity, labor power. So what this theory gives us is a really powerful and, yeah, for a lot of people, a pretty controversial way of looking at our economic world. It's a whole different lens. And it leaves us with one last really big question to chew on. What does it actually mean for society when the human ability to work, our creative power, becomes just another commodity to be bought and sold on the market?